Very good afternoon to everyone. We are going to talk about a topic from evolution that let's say Darwin, that is let's back. CSIR. I'm your educator and I'm pursuing and I've done then academy, what you're like class, life quizzes, all the material on an academy. And with the help of this plus subscription, all your minutes of CSIR like delivered very systematic manner. Every topic will have the benefit of getting you classes will be well structured, all the classes. These all are some of the academy. Then there are free live classes under on YouTube as well as on the platform. So the special platform is an app that is an academy app. We have the access for all the unlimited classes. Then for this plus subscription, you need to pay a certain and this is very pocket friendly, but it's still that pocket friendly amount discount use what that is. And don't forget to use that is only not forget take the subscription. Subscription can be a point where you are unable to crack the exam. Your subscription and your all the lectures are thoroughly full interest was about and start with the topic of today organism pattern. Organism and pattern. Topic of today. Now for beginning topic and its pattern, let's have a look at that is. So what is a species? Which organisms fall in the category of all those organisms which are capable of interbreeding each other, sharing common reproductive organs will fall under the category of species. And one species, how is it different from other species? There is difference between species on the basis of reproductive isolation. On basis of reproductive isolation. Species are different from each other just on the basis of reproductive isolation. They are unable to reproduce, and if by chance they are mating, they are unable to produce fertile offspring. Most important thing that you should know in a species that whom call a species is unable to reproduce other members. If members are similar, they produce within each other. And by chance, if two different won't be capable of forming a fertile offspring. Now talking about is raising formation of new formation of new species is formation of new species is right. So species a group of organisms What is this group of organisms? Group of organisms can interbreed. So, right? Understood well? Species. And now talking about a little bit more, that species, they are capable of successful breeding. They are capable of successful breeding. And by the capability of breeding, they are producing successful fertile offspring. Successful fertile offspring. Right? So this is the thing. Now, how the species will be formed or how speciation occur? What is the basis of the formation of a species or how species actually occur, and why we are so much interested in speciation? Why speciation uh, makes us so much interested in this concept? Why? Why this speciation thing drives us? Speciation provides evidence for evolution, provides evidence for evolution. And evolution has occurred, and we can help of various. Then speciation provides the important insights of the mechanism of evolution, that how species change from that particular another. So the species as the evolved from a pre-existing will be quite similar to it. So it will tell us about the mechanism of evolution. Mechanism of it. Then what else? It will also tell us about the pattern in the ecology and reproductive biology of the organism. Pattern, ecology, and the reproductive biology. What else is it going to tell us about? Is the pattern provides us insight in distribution pattern of extinct and living organisms. Pattern of extinct and living organisms. And this is why we are so much interested in evolution and why we talk about it so much. Those who are attending the class live, they comment in live comment box that are understanding this and trying to tell them, right? So what we need to know in and especially what is the cause of a speech and what is the rate of a speech and how does this occurs in taxa. So talking about now what is going to happen that there will be a parent X. Then this parent will actually diverge into different forms. One, but immediately just after one generation, it won't be possible that they are completely denying interbreeding. X1 will be capable of interbreeding X2, or they will be might be they are not capable of producing fertile offspring. So X1, then this X1 will change into X1 and further into more X1, and there will be accumulation of this changes in the further upcoming and same like X2, more different forms in upcoming generation. But there will be a time till when they will be capable of reproducing, and suddenly there will be a time when they will stop reproducing. Though during this period taken for this speciation, that is called as time required for speciation, time required for is. So during this period also, these they can crossbreed each other, they can with each other. That does not mean that they are tending towards the opposite partners, are less likely inclined towards the opposite type of partner. They'll be trying to each other. That is how after generations and generations there will be suddenly formation of new species from a single, and when they are not reproducing amongst each other, they are different species. When there is reproductive isolation called as different species. So no interbreeding occurring between them, no interbreeding, and thus no interbreeding occurring between. Thus we are calling them separate species. So if we are talking, this is time required for a species. Time required for a species. Time taken. Within this, there will be cross fertilization or cross upcoming members of the population. Then let us talk about a little more. So these species they will share common gene pool, share common gene. Then some of the all the genetic code possessed by the species or individual member of that species. Then speciation both mark and cross the boundary between microevolution and macroevolution. Species has crossed the boundary has crossed boundary of microevolution and macroevolution. Right? So this is a species and it is sharing a common gene pool and cross the boundary of microevolution and macroevolution. Now, what are the factors which are actually giving species? What are the factors which are giving rise to? So we'll be talking about some of the factors. So the very first is mutation. Mutation. So we know this that mutation can occur in some individuals of a population or many members of the same population, but mutation is a major factor required for speciation. Without mutation, there is no speciation in a particular population. So give me a second. Just a second. There is some. Okay. Now the things. So the first factor which is required for a speciation is and behavior. Behavior also change between the individual. Then time barrier, that if a particular plant is capable of flowering in the month of February and the same species plant somehow it diverged and now it is flowering in the month of July. So it won't be possible for them to interbreed. Time barrier. Then natural selection. Natural selection we have already learned in yesterday's class, that is disruptive, then directional, and then balancing one or stabilizing. So natural selection is there, then genetic drift. So we are going to talk about genetic drift in detail in the upcoming classes. Genetic drift is also very important. And lastly, environmental factors. Environmental factors. These are the things which are actually going to lead into creation, right? These all things will lead into a species. Now, let us talk about some other definitions which are related to the topic of an speciation, and then we will move towards the actual types of species that we have to discuss in today. So, the terms which I need to know in this category is agamo species, agamo. So, can you understand agamo? So, what does this agamo mean? What is the agamo? A set of organisms in which sexual reproduction do not occur, and they are just clone of each other, and there is no kind of sexual reproduction. Agamo, there is no sexual reproduction. Then second term that I need you people to know, chrono. So the meaning of chronospecies, it is a set of extinct organisms in which there was morphological, genetic, and ecological changes over time. So the extinct species, they will be falling under the category of chronospecies. Then the next term is evolutionary species. Evolutionary species. Evolutionary species. So a set of organisms that share a common ancestor, and it maintains the integrity with respect to the lineage to both time and space. They are called as evolutionary species. Like they have a common ancestor. Clearly, we can see that this is the common ancestor of these diverged species. They will be falling under the category of evolutionary species. And chrono species, extinct one, agamo, they are not capable of interbreeding. Evolutionary, that is, they have a common ancestor and they have evolved. And then ring species. Ring species. What do we mean by this ring species? Actually, is a set of generally hybridizing species with a geographic distance that forms a ring and overlap without the hybridization at the end. So ring species, there will be changes between these species, but there will be continuous kind of reproduction between them. So a species over here and a species over here, they will be very distinct from each other, they'll be very different from each other, but there will be continuous overlapping of reproduction between them. So agamo species, mono species, species, and ring species are the terms which I wanted you to know. Now, talking about the actual types, types. So the types of speciation that we are going to read under the four heading, that is allopatric, species, then peripatric species, then parapatric, and sympatric. speciation. These are the four types of speciation that we are going to talk in detail and that we need to know. So, for whatever kind of speciation we are talking about, like 1, 2, 1, 3, and 4. Whichever type we are talking about, species should exit the ecological niche for becoming a separate species. Regardless of the species definition, whatever we say, a species to be a biological entity, it must exist logical niche. And a population of organism which no longer has a niche can still be a ecological entity? No, it cannot be. So in a particular environment, a limited number of organisms or a population of a single species can reside. So this is the thing. Now we have known that they should exist in a particular type of. Now we are going to deal with types of speciation in detail. That is, we are going to talk about allopatric and then we are going to talk about peripatric and all these in a detailed manner. So first of all, let us take another slide and let us start with allopatric. Allopatric is allopatric is. So what is the reason of allopatric is most simple one to understand. uh, Allopatric is because of the geographical barrier. Physical or geographical barrier. Very easy to understand. Rest all of them, the rest all of the type of species will have a kind of confusion between them. But in allopatric, there would be least kind of confusion. Whenever there is physical barrier, it is only and only allopatric. So what words would trigger you that it is allopatric speciation? What words will actually tell you that it is allosteric speciation? I think there is a kind of lag. Just a second, let me just check. So now I think. So what are the words which are going to trigger you? Whenever you are coming across the word river, then you are coming across the word mountain, then you are coming across the word cannon, and if you are coming across the word ocean or you are coming across the word glacier, then it is only and only about allopatric. Not get confused. All are coming across these words, it is as easy as allopatric. So, okay, this is because of the physical barrier. So, what else will happen in allopatric speciation? Okay, if there is a population and suddenly there is formation of mountain or that river changes the direction and takes some plain area and start flowing from there. So whatever kind of geographical barrier this is, what will happen? The species from this side are going to differ from of another side after some time. So what all things will change between them? Food habits will change, habits will change. Then what else will change? Mating preferences will change or the mating pattern will change. Like if the original species it inhabited this whole area, now there is a mountain and here the temperature remains quite lower than the temperature over here. So that months in which the temperature is lower over here, maybe it's the month of January and here the temperature is in the month of December. So what will happen that the species they will have different mating pattern. They will have a difference in the months in which they will mate. So the mating pattern, here I've written pattern. It is mating pattern will change. So, so, mating pattern is going to change. pattern going to change. Now, what else is going to change? There will be speciation because of the selection pressure. Selection pressure. Like every time the natural selection is going to work. So there will be selection pressure amongst all these, and because of the selection pressure, there will be speciation. There will be speciation, right? So whenever in the exam you come across the term river, mountain, canyon, ocean, glacier, any word if you are coming across, just relate it directly with allopatric speciation. Do not think twice if you are coming across the words which are related to the geographical barrier, right? So this is the thing. Now, taking some of the examples and talking about allopatric speciation in a little more detail. So, a single species in an interbreed community is divided into. So, they are initially of the same population. They are not belonging to the different population. They are actually belonging to the same population. So, the barrier is going to be forming between them. So, geographical barrier is formed, and because of that, the separate population are going to arise. Now, we are going to talk about the actual examples through which you can understand this process of allopatric speciation. So, what are the examples of allopatric speciation? That is now the next thing. So, just a second. No. So, examples. What are the examples of allopatric speciation? What are the examples? So, the very first example is Harris antelope squirrel. Harris antelope squirrel. So this was the parent species. This was the parent species. Now what happened? There was formation of Great Canyon. So there was formation of canyon, and this formation of Great Canyon is the geographical barrier. So because of that, two species arise from the Harris antelope squirrel. Two species arise from Harris antelope squirrel, and the two species, they were Harris antelope squirrel one itself, this, and the another species was white-tailed antelope squirrel. White-tailed antelope squirrel. So this is one of the example of your allopatric speciation. There are many examples. So this was one of them. Let us talk about the second example, that is related to a fly that is in the area of okay, so fine, let us take an example of monkeys. The population of tamarin monkeys. Tamarin monkeys. So they are separated because of the Amazon River. Separated on Amazon River. They're separated on Amazon River. So when the river tributary is wide and individual on opposite sides of the bank, they do not interbreed with each other. The population, they start diverging towards the two separate species. So if this was the area and there was a divergence in the route of the Amazon River, so the two population of these two different areas, they were not interbreeding after certain generation, because there was a lot of time span that now they are merging into different. So when the river tributary was broad, they were unable to interbreed. and when the river tributaries thickness or broadness was a little narrower, they were capable of interbreeding. And this is how there was change in the species in the monkeys. That tamarin monkeys, they changed into two different species because of the broadening of the Amazon River. So this is the thing. Now taking an example from plants and talking about allopatric speciation is about the American dogwood. American American dogwood. So this is a plant with white flowers. So this American dogwood with time, when it was taken to a different geographical location, that is in the word itself, if you can see American. So this plant, it belonged to basically belonged to America, but then when it was taken to China, there was change in a little coloration of the petals of the plants of or the flower, and it actually changed into Chinese dogwood. Changed into Chinese dogwood. So here the flowers, they were completely white, and here the flowers, they acquired a little pinkish tint. And after certain generations, when both of the plants, they were planted in a common garden or in a common park, they were unable to actually interbreed with each other. So this is the thing that occurred in the case of plants, in the case of allopatric speciation. So this was one of the example from plants. Now let us take an example from reptilia, that is in the American alligator. This American alligator. So this American alligator, it was actually capable of interbreeding amongst the population because it was American alligator. There was no change in this species. But because of certain geographical barrier, this American alligator, it developed into one more species, that is Chinese alligator. That is Chinese alligator. So this American alligator was actually called as alligator Mississippi ensis, and the Chinese alligator is called as alligator sinensis. So the two alligators, they actually arose from a common ancestor, and that was only and only because of the geographical barrier, because of the difference in the location of the organism. Right? So this was about our allopatric speciation. Now let us move ahead and let us talk about peripatric speciation. Peripatric species. Peripatric species. So it is also so this is a special type of allopatric speciation only, and this peripatric speciation is actually kept in a broader heading, also sometimes called as incomplete isolation or peripheral isolation, but here I am dealing it under a individual heading, that is peripatric speciation, and then we'll be talking about parapatric speciation. So otherwise, in many of the places you can get peripatric and parapatric in a common heading, that is your peripheral isolation or incomplete isolation. So peripatric speciation, what is it? Is it is a peripatric speciation? It is a type of your allopatric speciation. A small population will enter into the new isolated niche, and when it will enter into new isolated niche, that can be because of the most important factor is geographical barrier, but not always and not 100%. So peripatric speciation, what occurs in this, that from the original population, a small sect will diverge from original population. Small sect is going to diverge. When this small sect is going to diverge, It will occupy the peripheral part. As the word itself is saying, peripatric, so it is going to occupy the peripheral part of that particular area. Will occupy the peripheral part. Occupies peripheral part of original population of the origin. And after some time, when it will just diverge and it will start occupying a different location in that particular habitat only, there will be formation of reproductive barrier after a certain time. Not immediately, but after a certain time. So from original population, there was nothing wrong in that particular area, just the whole population over here, whichever it was distributed. Some of the individuals, they thought that we are not going to live in the whole distributed area, we are going to just live in a small isolated area. So when they started living in this small isolated area, after certain generations, it was seen that they were not ready or willing to interbreed with the population from which it was actually diverged from. So this is how it gave rise to all new species. So they occupy the new area and this isolated area and breed in themselves only and does not breed with the parent population. And parent population also sees them as some kind of different population and they also do not breed with them. So there is a reproduction barrier. So the two things which has occurred, that is your reproduction barrier, and this reproduction barrier has occurred because of the geographical barrier, has occurred because of the geographical barrier. So two things, right? So peripatric, we are talking that this peripatric speciation, and it was given by a scientist. Let us give the credit to the scientist also. So it was given by Mayer. This peripatric speciation was actually proposed by Mayer, and it is quite related to founder's effect and genetic drift. So given by Mayer, and this peripatric is related to founder's effect, and genetic drift. So genetic drift we are going to talk in detail. Let us talk about the founder's effect over here in a very short and composite manner, that from a large population, if a small part they separate out and they start living in a new area in a more isolated manner, so after some time they will develop reproductive isolation, and when there will be development of reproductive isolation in them, they will start behaving as different after certain generations, right? So this was your peripatric speciation or incomplete isolation, right? Incomplete isolation or peripatric isolation, and it is a common part of peripheral isolation, right? So let us talk about this peripatric speciation, that what are the examples of peripatric speciation. So instead of what I would say is that let us talk about parapatric, and then we will be dealing the examples in a very comparative way for peripatric and parapatric. So let us talk about parapatric speciation. Parapatric. So those students who are listening the class live, they can just write in the comment box that whether they are understanding and everything. They can just write in the chat box. I will just read your comments and I will reply you back also if you are having any kind of doubt. Okay. So I can see some of the students who are listening the class live, but they are not commenting when I'm asking them to. So, okay, no issues. Take your time. Just message in the chat box that what things you want to read. And if you are understanding the thing, you can give a thumbs up so that I will carry on the things. So let us talk about parapatric speciation, and then we will talk about the examples, right? So parapatric speciation, in this there will be no physical barrier, no physical barrier. Most important, no physical barrier is there in parapatric. No physical barrier is going to be in parapatric speciation. So the newly developed species, they are going to acquire a very, very close area. They will live in a very close by area. They are kind of neighbors, but they are not same species, but they are living in a very close proximity. So new species, they will occupy the adjacent area. New species will occupy adjacent area. They are going to live very fast, very close. So what is the reason of this thing? Parapatric speciation is unfavorable conditions. Unfavorable condition. So this unfavorable condition can be any kind of pollution or any kind of mineral area or any kind of metal pollution. So pollution is the most important thing, which is quite overlapping with the parapatric speciation. So adverse environmental condition, so unfavorable conditions. So in this unfavorable conditions can be your adverse environment. Then it can be any kind of pollutant, specific metal pollutant or a mine area. So what is the meaning of para? There in yellow it was geographical speciation, geographical barrier. In peripatric, it was peripheral area, or these people, they will start occupying the peripheral area. They will not try to mingle more with the people. They will just live on the periphery. Now, what is this parapatric speciation? How are they going to occupy this space? They are uh, the new species which are actually living in a very adjacent area. So let us draw a picture for this. So imagine this is the area where the people they are living, and everywhere they are residing, the individuals they are residing everywhere, and suddenly there is imagine on this side there is a water body, and there is seepage of certain heavy metals from this river to this area, and the seepage has occurred in such a way that now has occupied this much area of this land. So now what will happen, that to cope up with this seepage of the metal, organisms which are belonging to this particular area, they will try to develop some genes for the resistance of this heavy metal. So they will change themselves to resist this because of survival. They are going to develop certain things in themselves. So this is your parapatric. Parapatric is, so that is like they are not going away somewhere. They are not isolating themselves. They are living where they were. They are not going to change their place at all. They are occupying the same area where they were initially, and they were interbreeding. But because of some adverse condition, they had to bring some change in themselves, and now they are different because of accumulation of certain changes. So we have seen peripatric and parapatric. So incomplete or peripheral isolation. In peripatric, when the population is divided because of the budding of a small population, completely isolated founder colony from the large population. So in peripatric, they were actually going away from their original place. They were actually going away from the original place. They were not living in the original place. They were just changing their place. See, there they are trying to occupy a certain area, which they are finding that yes, now we are going to occupy this area. So that is the thing. And in parapatric, they are not changing any kind of location. They are remaining still over there, but something is coming to them, so they need to change themselves for their own survival. They are not even running away that now we are not going to be in this area. They are well settled over there, but now they are trying to change themselves according to the need of the changing environment. So this is parapatric and that was your peripatric. Now, let us talk about the examples of peripatric and parapatric. That what are the examples of peripatric and parapatric? So, I can see some of the students who are live. Please write in the comment box that yes, you are understanding and you are getting the concept. So, it will be very much helpful for me to understand that yes, you have understood the concept. Okay, fine. Now, as I told you that we are going to talk about the examples after understanding both of the things. So let us talk about the peripatric examples of peripatric. Now, what will happen that there is an example of sweepstakes dispersal events provide complete geographical isolation and reduce migration near to the zero. What will happen that whenever there will be kind of some takeaways to a particular environment, that moreover they are localizing in a particular area, they are not going to go back to the original area. They have started residing in a common area and they are flourishing well over there. So why would they try to go into the common population and face the same kind of competition? They will try to remain behind and spend their life nicely over there. So this is parapatric. So potential parapatric speciation triggered by the partial isolation that occurred in Bolivian Natural Forest Island. So one of the example is Bolivian Natural Forest Island. Bolivian Natural Forest Island. So there was isolation around 3000 years ago, and from the larger community forest inhabitant during a dry period. Divergence in the bird which diverged was different in the allelic frequency as well as it was different in the kind of sound it was producing. So the name of the bird which actually diverged is southern chestnut tail antibird, and the one which developed from this is the northern chestnut tailed antbird. So these are the names of the birds which actually because of the Bolivian National Forest dry period, they both actually change. So I'll just write the short form: southern chestnut tail antbird and northern chestnut tailed antbird. So southern and northern, because of the change in the dry period they developed, there was change in the allelic frequency as well as there was change in the sound also. There was change in the song also, the song which they were producing. So this was our peripatric, and then let us talk about example related to parapatric. So in parapatric, what we are saying that they are not changing their position at all. They are remaining in that particular position, in that particular place only, but because of some kind of change in the environmental condition, they are becoming something else. So one of the example of this thing is Orioles example. Orioles example. So because of the change in the environmental condition, this Oriole it changed into Willox Orioles, and it changed into Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore Orioles. So that was because of the change which occurred, and they were actually occupying the normal area where they should be living, but now because of the change in the type of the atmosphere they change, and there will be a common area also that will be called as hybrid zone. Hybrid will also exist because there will be variety of organisms having a little changes and some with the common characteristics. So there will be a hybrid zone as well. So there will be a common border which will indicate that this is the place where they are actually merging, and this is the actual place where they were actually existing as common initially. So this is your parapatric species. And lastly in our class today, oh, there's some. So we are going to talk about sympatric species. Sympatric species. So sim means same and patric means place. So a speciation which will occur in the same place, no physical barrier, no geographical barrier, no geographical separation, there is no change in the environment, everything is just same. The new population will live as a part of the old population, but they will not interbreed with each other. They will just on their own, they will change the um, so on their own they will just change the preference to breed with each other. So that is the thing, sympatric speciation. Nothing else is going to happen. They are going to be occupying the same place. So the mayor who actually gave peripatric, he actually rejected this sympatric speciation. He said that nothing uh, like sympatric speciation can occur. So debate is still going on that whether it is actually a thing or not, or whether it is important for evolution or not. But there is well documented evidences for sympatric evolution to exist, but still it is a doubtful thing that yes, it exists or not. So this term sympatric speciation, as it is a debated one, so we should know that it was given by whom? So it was given by Sir Edward Bagnall. Was given by Sir Edward Bagnall in year 1904. He gave the term of sympatric speciation, and the reason of sympatric speciation is one and only, that is reproductive isolation. The one and only reason is reproductive isolation. Reproductive isolation. So how is it going to occur that there will be same area and now they are not trying to occupy the larger area, and how is it going to happen? So just imagine there is a whole place, and in this whole place there is a kind of soil which is kind of calcareous soil, calcareous soil which is surrounding the boundary, and suddenly there was volcanic eruption, and because of the volcanic eruption what has happened that the trees which were actually growing normally over there, because of this volcanic eruptions some of them changed just in that particular environment, and because of this there is change in the types of birds which are locating on it, and this is how the sympatric speciation can occur. So this is how we have covered the sympatric, parapatric, peripatric and allopatric speciation in our class of today. We'll be talking about the another topic, that is Lamarckism, in our next class. And I hope you people have understood what I was trying to tell you. You can just write in the comment box that what you are understanding and what you want to further learn. And let's crack CSIR-UGC NET together. Please subscribe our channel in the name of Let's Crack CSIR-UGC NET like signs, and do not forget to hit the bell icon for getting all the notifications. And if you really like my video, please give it a thumbs up. And lastly, but not the least, do not forget to use my referral code, that is FB01. Remember FB01 for getting an additional 10% discount. And while I'm not live, if you're watching my video, You can write in the comment box if you want to read a specific topic. So you can just write down there that you want to read this topic, and I'll try to cover that topic, and we will be reading that topic together. So this is it for today's class. Hope you have understood the things nicely. This is it for now. We'll be meeting in another class on. So yeah, fine. Now I can see myself live. So those who are attending the class live, they can write in the chat box if they can see live in the class. So let us begin with the session. And as we say in the starting, let's crack CSIR-UGC together. So a little introduction about myself. I am Farida and I am pursuing my PhD from School of Biotechnology. I've done my BSc and MPhil in biotechnology, and I'm a gold medalist. I've qualified MP SLET examination year 2000. I have a teaching experience of 10 years. Um, Before beginning with the topic of now, that is Lamarck and Lamarck, let us have a small introduction of Unacademy. Unacademy is one of the India's largest platform for the examination. There are daily life classes, and in these classes you have a course. And there are structured courses that for whichever upcoming exam, the whole constructed in such a way that you will cover that thing in a small span of time. And there are live tests and quizzes, and you will have unlimited access towards these quizzes and towards lectures. Are the benefits that are associated with Unacademy. Then there are free live classes on YouTube, and there are free live classes which are on the platform of the app, are called as special classes. You can enroll yourself for the special class without paying anything. Special classes are free of cost. You just need to download the app from the Play Store and make your account over there, and you will have access to all the special classes which are in the category of free. So you will get these unlimited live classes. Then this plus subscription, you need to pay a certain amount for getting this plus subscription, and the amount is quite pocket friendly. Still, if you want, you can get a 10% discount by using my referral code, that is FB1. And by using this, you will be getting a 10% discount, and this plus subscription can be very much beneficial for qualifying the exam, because for all the upcoming exams there are short term courses, then crash courses, which will actually make it possible for you to cover the whole syllabus in a very small span of time, and you will get everything on this platform. So this can be very much beneficial for you to qualify the exam. So do not forget to use my referral code while going for plus subscription, and just go for it and crack the examination. So let us begin with the topic of today, that is Lamarck and Lamarckism, and we are talking this under the heading of evolution. So let us write that we are talking about evolution, and under the heading of evolution, topic of today is Lamarck and Lamarckism. This is the topic of today. So before beginning with the evolution, the topic of today, that is in Lamarck, let us have a small introduction about evolution. What is evolution? Gradual, inheritable changes in the genome which occur on the basis of today's scenario is evolution. That is gradual, inheritable changes in genome on the basis of present scenario is evolution. Now this evolution, it occurs on basis of lot many factors, and many people they have their own idea of evolution, that how evolution has occurred and everything. So let us talk about the theories of evolution. So there are theories given by various people which actually define evolution. So theories given by various people, which are some of them are accepted, some of them are criticized. So theories. The first one is Darwinism, which was given by Darwin, and it is also a theory of natural selection. So I have done a video on natural selection also in the part one of evolution. Go and watch the video on natural selection. So Darwin, he gave the theory of natural selection. Then the theory came was given by Lamarck, and the theory is called as inheritance of acquired characters. It is the theory of inheritance of acquired characters. Then after Lamarck and after Darwin, there was a theory which was given by Hugo de Verres. Hugo de Verres. And this is the theory which actually talks about mutation, a theory of mutation. And lastly, there is New Darwinism. Darwinism. So, theory given by Darwin was actually refined and it was formed into Neo-Darwinism, and it is also called as modern theory of evolution. So, this is the modern theory. So, today's time, the most accepted one is the modern theory of evolution. So, these are the theories of evolution. And the topic of today is Lamarckism. We'll be talking about the theory of inheritance of acquired characters given by Lamarck. So let us write Lamarck's theory of evolution. The topic. So the theory which was given by Lamarck, it is also called as Lamarckism. Also called as Lamarckism, right? And this theory, it has got one more name, that is the theory of inheritance of acquired characters. So it is also called as theory of inheritance of acquired characters. Theory of inheritance of acquired characters. Now, if there is a theory, so definitely a theory or a hypothesis, it is based on certain postulates. So we will be talking about the postulates of Lamarckism in a well defined manner, in a detailed manner, and then summing up them in a very short, recognizable, understandable, and uh, the one which we can remember very fast. So that way we are going to divide it. So let us talk about the postulates of Lamarckism. Postulates of Lamarckism. So as I told you, we'll be dealing initially the postulates and then we'll be doing in a concise manner. So change in first postulate I'm going to write and I'm going to explain you this postulate. So in characters, change in characters occur by the environment. Environment is responsible for the change in the characters. Characters, they do not arise all of the sudden. Change in the characters, it occurs by the environment. And when does it occur? During the life of an individual. So while the individual is going through his life, there will be some changes in himself which are because of the environment. So changes in the individual Just a second. So changes in the individual and become hereditary. So if some change has come in me, they will become hereditary and they'll be transferred to the further generation, become heritable, and can be inherited to the next and herited to next generation and herited to next generation. This is the first postulate of our Lamarck's theory, that whatever changes is coming in an organism, that is because of the environment, and these changes, they will be heritable, they will be incorporated into the germ plasm, and then they will be passed on to the next generation, and next generation will be like that. So this is the first postulate of our Lamarck's theory. Second postulate is, according to Lamarck, the theory of evolution is on the surrounding condition. So it is based on the surrounding condition in which an organism is living. So the second postulate is based on, what evolution is based on, surrounding condition. Surrounding condition. Without the surrounding condition, there would be no change. This is what Lamarck has to say. So that means if the condition is changing, the individual will change. So this is the cause it to have certain need. Cause it to have certain needs. Cause it to have certain needs. Then next is, this need is fulfilled by the modification. This need, just a second, just a, yeah, just write in the comment box if I am visible and audible to you. Uh, just a second, I think I have lost my pen. Yeah. Where were we? That this is the actual, this is the need of time, which is need is fulfilled. It is fulfilled by the modification. The need is fulfilled by the modification of existing organ, of, of existing organ. The existing organ will actually change and it will produce the new rudimentary organ. So it can go in a positive direction or it can go in the negative direction. So, so there will be change or modification in the existing organism, or there will be development of rudimentary organs. Rudimentary organs. Organs. So this is what Lamarck has to say. This was the third postulate, that if you are using an organ rigorously, that means that organ will have a positive developmental change, and if it is not used continuously for a long duration, then it is going to be uh, in the rudimentary form. It is going to be in the negative form. So if there is a continuous use of this new organ, then it is going to lead into the modification and individual. But if the organ is not used for a very long duration, it is going to become rudimentary, and whatever changes is coming in this organism, it is going to be passed on to the next generation. So this is what Lamarck had to say. So let us understand this thing, what Lamarck said in example form. Let us have a look at the example of the thing, what Lamarck says. Example. Let's understand this with the help of example. So it is about the cave fish. Cave fish. First example is about cave fish. So yes, Lamarckism and examples of Lamarckism is quite related with the giraffe and all. So just for a change, I took the example of cave fish over here. So what occurs in cave fish is, the eyes, they are degenerated. Eyes are degenerated. Why are they degenerated? Because they live in a very dark condition, and because of this dark condition they are unable to use their eyesight, they are unable to use the power of the sight. So that's why the eyes, they remained unused for a long time, and they lost their eyes. So eyes remained unused for a long time, remain unused for a long time, and thus lost the capability. Was the first example in our Lamarckism that the cave fish lost the capability of sight. Then, okay, fine. Let us take the example of giraffe. So, giraffe's neck. So, what happened in giraffe's neck was, um, the long neck is because of the environmental condition. Maybe because all the shorter plants, they just disappeared, or now they are no more available for consumption. So, for their survival, they just somehow tried to take the leaves from a higher plants. And because of this rigorous stretching of their neck, there was some lengthening in their neck, and their forelimbs also stretched, and now they have got a longer forelimbs, and they have long neck, longer forelimbs and long neck in the giraffe. So giraffe's neck, it just stretched, and because of that, because of what? Because of the environment. Whatever is happening in Lamarckism, because of the because of the surroundings. So this is the thing. Now we have seen two examples. We are going to talk about Lamarckism and Lamarck in a more detailed form. So, as I told you that after this, I'll be telling you it in a very concise manner, right? So that you can actually be capable of writing a theory answer on the basis of the what I'm teaching, and you are capable of solving the MCQs and PYQs. So that was the thing in my mind. Now, let us write the simplified postulates. Simplified postulate. So the simplified postulates, first of all, it's the new needs. So no organ is going to develop if there is no need. If there is need, there will be development of new organs. So new needs is the first postulate. Second is use and disuse. Use and disuse of the organs. Then it is inheritance of the acquired characters. If there is new needs, either a organism is going to use a particular organ so much that now it has developed in a very positive direction, and if there is no need of that particular organ, he is going to stop using it, and it is going to be in the disuse, or it is not used at all. So this is the inheritance of acquired characters. Inheritance of acquired characters. Then next, it is speciation. So because of the new needs, because of the excessive use, or because of the underuse, these characters, they'll be inherited, and when they'll be inherited, there will be speciation. This is the simplified way of writing Lamarckism. So just remember this slide well, and you will be able to understand the thing, and it will remain in your subconscious for a longer time. Now let us talk about some more example of Lamarckism, so that you can just keep the things in your mind. So some more examples, because these examples, they are usually asked in the exams. I'm trying to cover more and more of the examples, so that if just the word comes in your sight, you are capable of identifying that which theory we are talking about. So the first example is giraffe. We have already seen some more examples. Then second example is very interesting, that is about snakes. So snakes also specifically in python and boas, python and boas. What happens in these snakes is, because they are the further they are actually developed because of the reptilia, that is with the whole uh, hind limbs and forelimbs. So they have come from that way. So when the snake, in the snakes python and boas, they have a rudiment or a vestigial pelvic girdle. They have vestigial pelvic girdle, which is actually indicative that yes, initially they have originated from the ancestors having all the four limbs. So snakes, they have the ancestors of the limbless lizards. Some lizards which were limbless, actually these snakes, they have originated from that area, that they were actually having the capability of just going on gliding and gliding and gliding. So from there they have acquired the characters of gliding, and the usage of the pelvic girdle became lesser and lesser, but they have this rudimentary pelvic girdle. So now that is just an indicative of that yes, it is going to diverge in that direction. So, due to the continuous disuse of limbs and because of the stretching of their body to suit the creeping mode of locomotion, limbless snakes evolved. So, they were actually oh, here. So, in Python and Boas, ancestors of the limbless snakes were lizard-like reptiles with fully developed pentadactyl limbs. Due to continuous disuse of the limbs, they actually diverged into the another category of the limbless snakes. Now, the next example of this is horse. So what about this horse? Or what in this? The ancestors of the modern horse used to live in the areas with soft ground and were short-legged with more number of functional digits. Now these gradually started to live in the dry ground. So this change in the habitat was actually accompanied by increase in the length of the legs and decrease in the functional digit for the fast running over the hard ground. So the horse, they are the ancestors of modern horse, used to live in a very soft and mushy area. So their height of the legs or the length of the legs were very, very short, and the digits were many because that was the requirement. So this is how the horse, it has developed from the another type of ancestor which were actually shorter in terms. Now talking about aquatic birds. Aquatic birds. Now what about these aquatic birds? So aquatic birds, let us take the example of duck. So aquatic birds, these ducks and these type of organisms, they do not use their wings higher or more for the use of flying and all. So because of this, their wings, they are reduced. Wings, they are reduced in them. Wings are reduced. Wings are actually reduced because they are continuously not at all used, but the feet and the toes, in which there is some membrane, so these things, they are highly used for swimming. So what happens, that feet, call it feet or you call it toes, oblique toes, they are highly used. They are highly used, and because of this high usage, they develop a lot for swimming and developing flap. They are used for swimming. So because they are used for swimming, there will be development of flap, development of flaps, development of flaps, and these flaps are now very much helpful for them for swimming. So this is the another example in our remarkism. And okay, let us take one more last example in remarkism. That is about the flightless birds. So flightless birds. So let us take example of ostrich. Ostrich. What happens in ostriches, they are not flying with their wings, and because they were not using their wings for a long generation gap, their wings became actually small. Wings became smaller and smaller with time. So in the flightless bird, such as ostrich, the wings became smaller and smaller and smaller in the due course of time. So we have covered almost all the examples of Lamarckism. Let us move and talk about the thing how this Lamarckism came into being and what is the basis of the study of Lamarckism. So the study of Lamarckism or the study is based on study is based on comparison, based on comparison between what, between fossils and the living organism. Study of Lamarckism is based on comparison between fossils and living organism. Living organism. This is the thing. Study is based on comparison between fossils and living organism. Now, this we have seen. Now, let us talk about criticism of Lamarckism. That is also quite important because for any kind of theory of evolution, for it to be a completely accepted theory, we should know that where it is criticized or what are the points in which it is lacking. So, comparison between the work of others and the work of the scientist who is giving the theory is a very important thing. So the next thing that we are going to talk is the criticism of Lamarckism. So as we study anything, we talk about the advantages and then we talk about disadvantages. We talk about cons and we talk about cons. So let us talk about the criticism. Criticism. Criticism of Lamarckism. That how this Lamarckism is actually criticized and what are the points on which it is criticized. So it is criticized on certain characters. So there were experiments which were done. So first experiment for criticizing Lamarckism was done by August Weismann. August, what he did and what he posed actually, that it is related to the experiment which actually was performed on the rats. So August Weismann was actually a German biologist who proposed the theory of continuity of germplasm. Theory of continuity of germplasm. Theory of continuity of germplasm. This was given by August Weismann. This was the theory. And this theory states that a multicellular organism is formed up of two types of cells, that is germ cells and that is somatic cells. So germ cells, if there is some change in the germ cells, will be inherited, and if there is no change in the germ cells, it won't be inherited at all. So environment, it can affect the somatic cell in a large way, but if it is unable to affect the germplasm, it is not going to make any kind of difference in the coming generation. It is going to be as it is like previous generation. So what he did, that this August Weismann, what he did, he performed experiment on rats. Performed experiment on rats. What he did, that while he was performing experiment on rats, he had cut the tail of rat in every generation. So he cut the tail, let us write, cut tail of rats. So he did this cutting of the tail of the rats for 20 generations. 20 generations he did the same. 20 generations did cut tails. And now when repeatedly the tail was being cut, what was expected is that now the rats which are arising might be tailless, or they will have a shorter tail. Any one thing was at least expected. So tailless was one of the expectation, or a shorter tail. A shorter tail was expected. Now, when he measured the length of the tail after 20 generations, the tail size was exactly like the beginning ancestor. Tail size wasn't reduced at all. Wasn't reduced at all. So this completely rejects the theory of Lamarckism that if in a generation there is some changes which are arising, will be inherited to the next generation. So in every generation, they were spending their life in the normal world, like after the fetal form, in the normal life, they were like tailless. As soon as they were getting birth, their tail was chopped off. Every time, whenever another generation was coming into life, their tail was chopped off. So just the gestation period was the time when they were actually tailed. Rest all of their life they were tailless. But still, after 20 generation, there was no difference. Their tail was as it is. So this theory of continuity of germplasm given by August Weismann actually disregards and eliminates or swipes off Lamarckism completely. So Lamarckism failed. Lamarckism fails. Right. So this is the first place or the first criticism that we have. Let's talk about the second criticism, which was actually given by Pavlons. So what Pavlov said, he was a Russian physiologist. So he trained mice to come for food for every time whenever there was ringing of bell. So there is a difference of ideas that Pavlov's does this experiment on rat or dog. So anything you can consider. Okay, if we are writing dog, so Pavlov's what he did, he took a dog and he, or whenever he offered food to the dog, there was ringing of bell. Every time he rung a bell. So when there was even no food, and for 20 years he did this thing for two generations, whenever there was ringing of bell, the dog used to produce the gastric enzymes, used to produce the digestive enzymes, because for more of his life he was actually trained that whenever there will be ringing of bell, he'll be getting the food. So whenever there was ringing in the bell, dog used to produce the digestive enzymes. So what Pavlov said, that if this is so, this ringing of bell is the environmental change, and if Remark is right, in the coming generation when they won't be trained for ringing of the bell, still in them the ringing of bell will trigger the production of digestive juice, or it should actually trigger production of digestive juices. This is what he wanted to say. But after rigorous training also, this trait was not inherited at all. Trait of production of digestive enzymes on ringing of bell, trait of production of digestive enzyme on ringing of bell was not passed on next generation, passed on next generations. So this is how Pavlov's theory again stepped off Lamarckism. So Lamarckism fails. Lamarckism fails. Right. So this was the second experiment in which the Lamarckism failed. Now talking about the third experiment, or the third example. So the third example is a very simple example, that is about wrestler's body. Wrestler's body. So have you seen wrestler's body? So if it was so that, okay, one generation was training hard enough and having biceps and triceps and having six pack abs, and they were very good in wrestling. So is it so that the wrestlers, they pass on the genes of wrestling and having triceps, biceps to their young ones also? No, they have to train on themselves. So wrestler's body is not at all passed on to next generation, not at all passed on to next generation. They have to actually work hard on their own for the development of body. So this was the wrestler's body example, and again here Lamarckism failed, or Lamarckism fails. Now next is ear or nose piercing. Ear or nose piercing. So ear and nose piercing, it is going on since generations and generations in India without any break. The girls, they are getting their ears pierced and their nose pierced, but this trait is not passed on to the next generation. All the young ones, they are born with a very complete earlobe and the folds of the nose. They are completely 100% without any kind of piercing. So ear piercing, nose piercing, it is not working at all. Though it is like a compulsory part, everyone is having it in the population, but still it is not passed on at all. Then another very interesting example is about China. The Chinese women, what they consider is the women with smaller feet, they are considered more attractive, they are considered more beautiful, and that is a benchmark of beauty, that if you are having small feet, is directly proportional to being beautiful. So what they do is, when the child is born, a girl child is born, they put some wooden shoe on their body or on their feet, and they will restrict the growth of the feet. But every time, whenever a new child is born and the child is led to develop in a normal course, the child will have a normal size of his foot. It won't be like that a person of 6 feet having a shoe size of 5 or 6. No. Though for his own life, he might have a smaller shoe size because of the environmental constraints, like people are putting a shoe for lesser development of their bones. So it will not be passed on at all to the next generation. Again, if they are left free, the coming generation, they will have a normal foot size. So this all things says that Lamarckism fails. Lamarck says that if in a generation a particular organ is not used, lesser used, or highly used, it will go in the vice versa direction. But no, it is not having. It is not like that. Every generation has to train himself. So Lamarckism fails over here. So we have seen some of the very beautiful examples of criticism of Lamarckism, but as it is a class of Lamarckism and theory of inheritance of acquired characters, we need to talk about the significance as well. So let us talk about the significance of Lamarckism. That what is the significance of Lamarckism? Must. It is a must because we are talking it under this head. So it was the first comprehensive theory of biological evolution. If you are being asked in some kind of university exam, also in written examination, you should always highlight this thing, that what is the significance of Lamarckism. So first point is, it was first comprehensive theory of biological evolution. biological evolution. So if we are saying that it is the first comprehensive theory of biological evolution, let us discuss one more point at this point only, that Lamarck's whole work was published in a book, or he published his own book, that is the Philosophic Zoologic. So Lamarck's book name is Philosophic Zoologic. Philosophic Zoology. So he was the first person to give the comprehensive theory about evolution in a well-defined manner. Then it nicely explained the existence of vestigial organs in animals due to their continuous disuse. So vestigial organs, well explained. So, like presence of wisdom tooth, we often wonder that if scientists they say that this wisdom tooth is completely of no use in us. So, vestigial organs, so they are just example of the evolution, that how our ancestors actually use this vestigial organ or these wisdom tooth. So, wisdom tooth is actually used by the lower organism for breaking the seeds, the hard seeds, like squirrel, they all use this wisdom tooth for breaking the seeds. As we know that the strongest joint in our body is this jaw. So the muscles over there, they are very, very strong, so they can crush the seed and take the what should say embryo or endosperm for consumption. So wisdom tooth, presence of presence of wisdom tooth explained. Then presence of appendix is well explained. So vestigial organs, or the theory of use and disuse, well explained. Theory of use and disuse, well explained. So this is the another significance of our Lamarck's theory or Lamarckism. Then talking about the third significance of Lamarckism, it explains the development of strong jaw muscles and claws in the carnivores due to their continuous extra use. So explains the development of strong jaw, muscles and claws in the carnivores due to their extra use. Their extra use. So this is explained by Lamarckism, that how a particular organ is being used rigorously and it is developing into more profound organ. So it stimulates other biologists to look for the mechanism of organic mechanism. So when Lamarckism was given, then it made other scientists to think in a direction that how the evolution had occurred in the organic manner. So it stimulates other biologists to look for mechanism of organic evolution. Mechanism of organic evolution. So till there was no uh, proceedings from the side of Lamarck, what happened, that there no one was actually taking care of how the things are going to occur. So when Lamarck said all these things, everyone was like, no, now we have to look for a actually well accepted and actual theory of the development or the evolution. So let us have a very quick revision of the topic of today, that is Lamarckism. So Lamarckism is read under the various theories of evolution. So the theories of evolution actually comprises of Darwinism, or the one which was given by Darwin. Then the one which was given by Lamarck is Lamarckism, and the one which was given by Hugo Theories is actually the theory of mutation, and the theory which is well accepted in this time is the modern theory, or it is called as Neo-Darwinism. Right? Now let us move further, and the Lamarck's theory of evolution is also called as theory of inheritance of acquired characters. Theory of inheritance of acquired characters. So that is the theory of the lemma, that how the characters they develop in an individual. So postulates we have discussed in detail. So let us have a very quick revision of the postulates. So changes in the characters they occur by the environment during the life of an individual, and they become heritable and they are herited to the next generation. Then they are based on the surrounding. If surrounding is posing a certain kind of stress, so they will move in that direction, that they will change that character. And if continuously a particular population is using one kind of character and avoiding another kind of organ or character, so they will be going in that direction. Extra use, extra development, lesser use, lesser development, or disuse, completely changing into the vestigial form. Then we have seen the example of cave fish, which actually became eyeless or blind because it survived long in the dark environment and there was no use of eye, because it was so dark that it could not see anything. So there was no use of presence of eyes in the cave fish. Then giraffe, because of whatever factor that the lower leaf they were unable to consume, they had to take the leaves which are at height, so they just stretched their forelimbs and their neck, and it passed on to the next generation. And as I told you that we'll be talking about these postulates in a very concise manner. So the new needs, and then use and disuse of particular organ, then inheritance, if a particular thing is going on, it should be inherited also. Inheritance of acquired characters, and these are the things which are the simplified postulates of our Lamarck's theory. Now, some more examples. Giraffe we have seen. Then in snakes, they actually come from a reptilian lizard family. So in some of the snakes, such as python and boas, we can see the remains of the pelvic girdle of the lizards. And because of this gliding nature of snakes and because of the stretching of the body, there was no use of these small limbs in them. So the limbs they became rudimentary and they were completely eliminated in the further species. So still in python and boas we can see rudimentary or non-functional pelvic girdle, and that is the indication that how lizards they gave rise to snake. Then horse, they come from a family which actually used to remain in a very mushy and soft area, and there were lots of digits in their foot, but because they shifted to a very dry environment, they had to reduce the number of the digits to a very solid sole, and they had to stretch their limbs. So how that is how horse came into being. In aquatic birds like ducks, they were not using their wings for longer flight, but they were using their feet and toes for swimming. There was development of flap between the toes and feet. Means flap was there, but the flap became stronger and stronger, and they have a very thick flap now. These ducks. Then the example of flightless bird, they were not using their wings for flight, so wings they just became smaller and smaller, and their vigor also reduced. So this is also under the Lamarckism. Now the study is based on the comparison between fossils and the living organisms. In criticism of Lamarckism, we have seen that is first it was done by August Wiesmann, and the August Wiesmann he gave a theory of continuity of germplasm. So the theory of germplasm. So it was conducted on rats, that how the rats their tail was cut off every time for 20 generation, but still they had tail. After 20 generation also they had tail. So there was no germplasm. Then Pavlov's theory. At every time, whenever there was ringing in the bell, the dog, they secreted the digestive enzymes. Then the wrestler's body, it is not passed on to the further generation. Ear and nose peering. Then the smaller food as the concept of beauty in China. Then we saw the significant Marxism, that it was the first comprehensive theory of biological evolution, and this was published in the book Philosophic Zoologic, or he published his book Philosophic Zoologic. So there were the Marxism actually tells about the vestigial organ or presence of vestigial organ in a very beautiful manner. Then it explains the development of strong jaw and claws in carnivores, and it stimulates the other scientists for further research in the field of organic evolution. So this is it for today's class. We'll be meeting with the next interesting topic of evolution. And as we say, let's crack CSIR-UGC NET. And if you like my video, please give a thumbs up and please hit the bell icon for getting all the notifications for the upcoming videos and whenever I'm going live. And lastly, do not at all forget to use my referral code, that is FB01. So my referral code is FB01. Do not forget at all to get a 10% discount in your class subscription by using my referral code FB01. So this is it for today's class. We'll be meeting with another interesting class of evolution, and just be there. You can write your comments in the chat box and in the comment section, whichever topic you want to study among the 13 units of CSIR life science. I'll be dealing with that. So this is it for now. I'm really awaiting your comments and your likes. This is it for now.